Spider-Man: No Way Home.
No way, Jose.
Shut up. The finale of the Holland trilogy. This one for me, one thing I will say is that I disagreed with the marketing for this film. And what I mean by that is, could you imagine if the film didn't advertise that the villains were coming back from the other films? Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if this film found a way to advertise it, make it exciting, and never even show the villains that you're fighting, and somehow, or just show Goblin, and find a way to make all those reveals something that we had no idea were coming?
Mm-hmm. That would have been crazy.
I would have lost my shit when I saw Doc Ock. Are you kidding me? So, but anyway, that being said, I think No Way Home is my favorite of the Holland trilogy. No Way Home had so many variables to balance, but I do think that they kind of shoved some villains aside, which makes sense because in order to have a level of continuity for those villains, they would have to give them more screen time, and those villains weren't as in-depth as as the other ones were. Like the Lizard, for example, he's not as in-depth. Sandman, not as in-depth. But the thing is that they were able to make Jamie Foxx's character better because they used his actual likeness rather than just making him a blue monster, which is really cool. The villains in this movie, I mean, they're from the previous one, so it's hard to fuck that up, right? I do think there's some great writing here. I think there's some great stakes. It's the most stakes that's in any Holland movie. And to be honest...
Probably in any MCU movie.
Yeah, because
the whole universe is at
the whole universe was going down, and it's Spider-Man's fault, you know?
Yeah.
So, como se dice? So, really high stakes. There were some good emotional moments, like with Aunt May's death. Although, once again, I feel like I wish they pushed Aunt May more in the previous films to make her death hit harder. It still was handled with enough care to where I felt something. Somehow they were able to make Goblin's character even more menacing than the first film, which is wild to think. I didn't think that was possible, but in some instances, like for example, when Goblin fucking powerbombed Spider-Man, like when you see shit like that, his smile, him destroying the mask. I think Green Goblin was extremely strong in this movie. I think Doc Ock, when he was there, was very endearing. The comedy hit very well in this film. The Spider-Man returns. I mean, this film, for me, is lightning in a bottle. And it may, right now, I'm not too sure if this will age gracefully in 10 years, but I think that besides the moments where you can tell there's an intentional pause just so the audience can cheer.
Yeah.
Besides those moments, I think this film is damn good to watch. And watching it in theaters for the first time in Dolby is an unforgettable experience. That's what I have. There are some problems, but we'll get into that. How do you feel?
So, Spider-Man No Way Home, I haven't rewatched in some time. But it's a once-in-a-lifetime movie that you can't really... It doesn't hit the same on a rewatch, Like you said, it's lightning in a bottle. It really is. It's fan service, but in the best possible way.
With what it had, yes. I wish there was better build-up in the previous two films, but still, for what it had, it did very well.
I agree. I wish there was better build-up, and I also I wish this movie didn't really retcon a lot of what happened in the previous two, in terms of that, No Way Home is kind of an origin story, which is weird.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the third movie, and it's an origin story. That always felt kind of weird to me, but I do like that it's a big triumphant, like he's finally Spider-Man. But to me, he was already Spider-Man, so it just kind of felt like, I know that.
The one criticism I can say about the three films is that the stakes are so low to the point where at the end of Spider-Man 3, it's as if none of the films ever happened.
Yes.
That's a legitimate criticism. I understand there's a lore reason for it. Oh, but Doctor Strange snap. I understand, but if you look at the films as a whole, they're so insignificant that the universe literally doesn't remember it happened.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just being honest. We were there for the ride, but once again, low stakes. Something that I
Yeah.
can't say it did better than the original Sam Raimi trilogy. The decisions they made, they had to live with. You know,
Yeah.
you know. I can't
Yeah.
say
I
that for the
think
Spider-Man Tom Holland trilogy. I can't continue.
Yeah, and I think No Way Home is the hardest to talk about critically as well, right?
Yes.
Because we've just this entire time we've been talking about how we grew up with these movies, we've seen them so many times, and then you get to No Way Home, and you can't really look at it critically. It's fan service.
Yes.
It feeds on your nostalgia. It feeds on you knowing the previous movies. It's you grew up with the Tobey Maguire movies. This movie rewards you for that. It's just, hey, you remember.
Yeah.
and
you
and
remember.
like
You remember.
and I know some people will be like, oh, it's just the movie leans on it too hard, and that's kind of what makes it
That's fair.
maybe a not great movie. But for me, that's what makes this movie as good as it is that it is the fan service. It's for the fans. It's a Spider-Man movie made for the fans, 100%. And so it's really hard to talk about in a way of just let me find what I don't like about the movie, because the movie is tailor-made for Spider-Man fans like us.
From
And
our perspective,
yeah,
it's top tier.
it's top tier. And I think it's the perfect blend of what the previous Spider-Man movies were trying to go for by telling a great Spider-Man story, but also being like, hey, he's in the MCU. Because, in Homecoming, you had, hey, look, it's Iron Man. He's in the MCU. And then Far From Home, it's, hey, he's with Nick Fury. Spider-Man's in the MCU. And then now it's Doctor Strange.
Right. Except Doctor Strange's appearance here isn't too long, thankfully. So, like with the other ones,
it's not too long, but it is important.
Right, very much so, which is great because, once again, the fact that he's not in it for too long gives Spider-Man the spotlight, which is good.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the biggest points for this film, pretty much the moment where I knew that we were in good hands and that they weren't going to take all of these subplots and have some sort of mild dissolution, was the scene where Goblin kills Aunt May. Now, it wasn't exactly too intentional. He was trying to kill Peter, and Aunt May got in the way. But when Aunt May died... Ant-Man.
When Ant-Man died.
Ant-Man died in this film. When Aunt May died, and he was holding her, you could see that anger, you could see that retribution feeling. And then when he was standing on that building and the rain was going and they had a really good shot, and he wanted to kill Green Goblin, all of that. But then the other Spider-Men were able to talk him down because of their experiences, and the dialogue that they spoke was so damn good. Like, I'm sorry, the writing behind this, it's comedic when it wants to be, but they nailed that scene. It was perfection. And while I do think that he kind of went back to old funny Spider-Man a little too quickly, you can't get too mad at that because of the legendary scene between them three and them talking about, yeah, I fought a purple alien. It was in space. Y'all fought in space. I'm kind of lame compared to you. No, stop. Can you take that away? Now, you need to look at yourself and say, I am great. Say it. No, thanks. There's a lot of self-talk. It's little conversations like that is the bread and butter in this film, and I have to say that once again, at the end, where they have the big fight, and at the very end of the fight, it's Tom Holland Spider-Man versus Green Goblin. Even Andrew Garfield got a fucking arc, and he saved Mary Jane. All of the nice tie-ups where Tobey Maguire's talking to Doc Ock is like, hey, Otto, I'm doing all right. That kind of thing. Everyone has an arc. Everyone's subplots are tied up perfectly, except Lizard and Sandman. It's a little quick, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of villains, so it makes sense. And como se dice? And the final fight between Goblin and Tom Holland Spider-Man, which I think Goblin was the perfect character for to be the main villain. The level of violence that you can see in Tom Holland's eyes, like the anger, it's something you don't really see often. So it really stood out in this fight. And the fact that Tobey Maguire's character came over and saved Goblin, I think that those kinds of moments that are so real, that are so I don't think I've seen a moment that was more Spider-Man than that ending. I really do. I think that this film, even though it leans a lot on member berries and nostalgia, also treats it with so much respect that
it has substance in its own right as well.
Very much so. It's a film that stands on its own in addition to all of the fan service. And to be honest, it's almost the perfect combination. It's amazing. Amazing. But you get it. It's damn good.
Yeah, and I think what this movie is also really great at is in the moment, right? When you're watching the movie, the stakes are so high that you genuinely don't know where the movie is going.
Right.
As you're watching it, you genuinely have no clue where it's going to go. On a first watch, I'm talking. Of course, when you rewatch, you know what's going to happen.
Of course.
But on a first watch, you know, it starts right where Far From Home ended, with Mysterio revealing Spider-Man's identity. And then, so now, you know, the police are after Peter, and you're just like, okay, where the fuck are we going from here?
Right.
Like, now all the cops want Spider-Man's ass because he's a vigilante, he's a criminal.
The Matthew Murdock scene. Oh, yeah. Fuck.
You get the Daredevil cameo, and then not only that, it delves into, okay, he's going to go ask Doctor Strange for help. Okay, makes sense. Doctor Strange has magic. You know, maybe he can help fix this thing. And then, of course, due to Peter's actions, consequences happen, and a multiversal rift is kind of created. And now we have Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, in this movie. And it's at this moment where it's just like, okay, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
But it's not a what the fuck is happening in a confused way. It's more of just that I have no clue where this movie's going, how it's going to end, and how all of this is going to tie up. But I'm here for it.
I'm here, though. Yeah, fuck that out.
And honestly, that even continues all the way to the third act. You know, you have Peter and Green Goblin going 1v1, you know, fisticuffs on the collapsed Statue of Liberty.
That scene is beautiful. I don't care what people say. That fucking fight scene was beautiful.
And in that moment, I was just like, holy shit, Peter might kill Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the gloves were off the whole movie. You had no clue where it was going to go. He stopped
pulling his punches. Yeah.
Yeah. You had no clue where it was going to go. And so anything could have happened from start to finish. And it's very rare for a movie, I think, to give me that feeling, especially a superhero one. And I think Spider-Man No Way Home does such a great job of that. I think, honestly, Endgame kind of had that same feeling, which is what made the theater experience with that so special, of just like, okay, I don't know, like, you know, the problem we have is really bad, and I have no clue how they're going to fix it. And I think No Way Home managed to be a nice little, you know, bow tie on such a big movie.
Yes.
The ending was just a nice gift wrapped.
And the two criticisms I had of the previous film, that's like, okay, maybe they're just not good enough to make a film with like more stakes or whatever. No Way Home came out and I shut my fucking mouth.
Yeah, I think they shut everyone's mouth.
Yes, very much so. Not only did they have the nostalgia, they backed it the fuck up, bro. And like I said, the nitpicks and the criticisms I have for this film are minor. None of those criticisms I have take this movie away from greatness. I truly think it's the best of the Holland trilogy, and it's contender for best Spider-Man movie of all time, which is wild.
And I think it's one of the few movies as well that's a sequel that actively responds to the criticisms of the previous movies.
Yes. Oh my god. Even directly at times. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, a lot of fans that didn't like the MCU Spider-Man movies complained that it's like, you know, he's not my Spider-Man. And then you get to the end of No Way Home, and they're like, yeah, he's fucking Spider-Man. So it's like, you know, it's actively responding. It's not just a movie for the fans, but it's actively responding to the criticism of the fans that weren't fans before.
And while the fossils amongst us won't agree with it, people who are open-minded and take a movie based on its own merits and make their opinions based off of that, most of them accept this Spider-Man now. So there you go.
I've always accepted Tom Holland.
Me too.
Spider-Man. From Civil War.
Because he's his own Spider-Man. Right. He's his own Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be the other characters. And now with No Way Home, they're actual separate characters. So we're all good. You know?
And honestly, with whatever they do for Spider-Man 4, it can go anywhere.
Yes.
Honestly, this could even be the last Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, and I'd be fine with it
Yes, very much so.
because the ending is very nice.
So with this film, the thing is, me giving Spider-Man No Way Home a 9 out of 10 doesn't seem fair.
It feels wrong, right?
It
feels
doesn't
wrong.
seem fair. So you know what? I'm gonna do something that may seem sacrilegious to Spider-Man fans, but I'm putting No Way Home at S tier, right next to the original Spider-Mans 1 and 2. They are not better than these films. I think these films are the blueprint, but I think this film is a grand finale. It really is.
Especially when you watch all the live-action Spider-Man movies, No Way Home feels like a conclusion for all of them, not just Tom Holland's.
And it's beautiful. You got old man Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire. You got the estranged, I fucked up my life Spider-Man.
The middle child.
Yes, the middle child, right? And you got the youngest, who's probably the most prosperous out of all three of them. And I gotta tell you right now that if you look based on merit, while I enjoy and prefer Spider-Man's 1 and 2, if you look at it as a trilogy as a whole, trilogy, they fucked up a lot less. You know? Now, like I said, that doesn't say that the films are better, because they're not, in my opinion, because they had less to deal with, you know, and so they were safer. But No Way Home proved as the best finale out of the entire trilogy, and that is no easy feat. So S tier, while it may seem sacrilegious, I cannot put it in the same tier as Far From Home, because it is way better than that. And Far From Home is pretty good. Yeah. So that's what I have. 10 out of 10, No Way Home. Anything else?
Yep. Nope. No disagreements from me there.
Fair enough. Clown to clown conversation. That's it.